So we have our general equation for the quadratic function, which is f of x equals to ax squared plus q, right? So you need to know the general equation first. I will talk in more detail about this and also about that q. So let's start with the shape. Obviously, as I said earlier, A determines the shape of the graph. Right now, there are two scenarios. And let me talk about A can be positive or negative. Okay, so let me move on to the next page. So if A is positive, we are still under shape. Then I will talk about the summary later. So if A is positive, the graph is going to have what's called a smiley face. It's going to look like that. All right? The quadratic function, or if I draw it under that, it will look like this. Let me just draw a basic one. Something like that. Right? It's going to have a smiley face. The graph will be happy. Okay? And then if A is negative, the graph will be sad. You're going to have a sad face. So when it has got a sad face, it will look like this. And when you are sketching it, you have to use freehand, like the trigonometric graphs. You don't use a ruler like in the case of the straight line. Okay? Now, generally, the graph has got two x-intercepts. Okay? So this is the shape. Right? The shape looks like there are only two types of shapes. Either it will be happy or it will be sad. Then later on we can discuss the vertical shift. But the shape will look like this one or that one. Okay? And our axis of symmetry will be the y-axis. So I will talk about the axis of symmetry as well. Right? Okay, let's move on to okay, so shape, and let's talk about the x and y intercept. So I have done A, B, okay. So that's C. The y intercept. Okay, let's say y intercept. The y-intercept, I'm sure you can see that the equation we can write as y equals ax squared plus q. Therefore, if I substitute x equal to 0 here, you will get y equal to a times 0 squared plus q. And this will give you y equal to q. So q is the y-intercept. Okay? Q is the y-intercept. That value q is your y-intercept. Okay? Then the x-intercept. Now x, we only have one y-intercept, right? But the x-intercept now is no longer singular. It's now plural. We have two x-intercepts. So I'll say x-intercept. Okay? Remember, you get your x-intercept when f of x for y is equal to 0. You will get your y-intercept when x is 0. This is very important. Okay? So, if I start from y equal to ax squared plus q, if I want to find the x-intercepts, there are two. It's not like the linear function which has got 1. This one now it has got 2. So if I put 0 here, you get 0 equal to ax squared plus q. Then we need to solve that. So if I take the q to the left, I can end up having ax squared is equal to minus q. Then divide both sides by a, you get x squared equal to minus q over a, which I can finally say my x-intercepts are going to be x is going to be equal to plus or minus the square root of minus q over a. There are two values there. Okay, be aware that there are two values. Okay, two values. All right. Now remember, q can be positive or negative. If q is negative, okay, then the result becomes positive. Now this minus, right, when you simplify, in most cases the a as well. Let's say, for example, well, someone might ask, how is he going to get a positive answer? Or how are we going to get a positive answer? It's very simple. If q is positive, right? If q is positive, in order for you to get the square root to be a positive, or the number inside the square root to be positive, it means a must be negative. Okay? Or you can have a situation where if q is negative, then the numerator becomes a positive q. Because this minus here is the minus of the formula, this one here. If q is negative, then minus q gives you a positive q, which means a must be positive. The value of a can be both positive and negative. Also, q can be positive and negative. Okay, but later I'll talk about that q separately. Right, so y-intercept, x-intercept. So if you want to find the x-intercept, if you don't want to use the quadratic formula and all that, you can just memorize this equation, right? So that if you are given a general equation of a quadratic function, you identify your q, you identify your value of a, you just plug them in there, then you get your two answers. Now, just to emphasize, this plus or minus here, it means you will get two values. That's an indicator that you get two values. Please, it's not one value, it's not one x-intercept, two x-intercept. One will be positive, the other one will be negative. Okay? So if your memory is very good, you know, when I was very young, when I was your age, my memory was extremely good back then. Memorizing that is very simple. Okay? You should not struggle. So if you can memorize this, it means whenever you're asked to sketch the quadratic function, you know that, okay, the formula to calculate the x-intercept is x equal to plus or minus q inside the square root times divided by a. Identify your q, identify your a, calculate that, and get your two values. Right? But if you can't do that, then you have to go via solving a quadratic equation. Okay? Go via solving a quadratic equation. Right? Okay, let's talk about the axis of symmetry. Because the graph has got an axis of symmetry, and that axis of symmetry has an equation. So DE is going to be equation, so this will be E, equation of axis of symmetry. Right? Yeah, an axis of symmetry has got an equation. Okay? The axis of symmetry has got an equation. The equation of the axis of symmetry, okay, it's y, rather, I'll call it x equal to 0. It's the y-axis. Okay? The y-axis is the axis of symmetry. But the y-axis has an equation. Okay? If you didn't know that, from now on you must know. The y-axis has got an equation. The x-axis has got an equation. Okay? So, the y-axis The y-axis is the line of symmetry. Okay? Therefore, the equation of the line of symmetry is going to be x equal to 0. Okay? This is very important. X equal to 0 is the equation of the y-axis. Okay? And the reverse will be the equation of the x-axis. So the equation of the x-axis is y equal to 0. So this is the equation of the line of symmetry, right? This is the y-axis. So if you're asked to write down the equation of the line of symmetry, you must not think the equation will be x equal to 0. Remember what I said yesterday? All vertical lines, they have undefined gradient. Okay? And when you write the equations, you start by saying x equal to a specific value where the line passes through the x-axis. So this will be the equation of the axis symmetry. Okay. All right, let's talk about the vertical shift. The vertical shift, that is Q. Yeah, it won't take me long. Let me stop.